How do we make relationships work? Let's talk about that.
Yes, yes. And it's funny because, for most business people, I certainly feel this way at times. I'll be completely honest and transparent here on the podcast today. It's like I feel so proficient in all these ways, right? I'm like, oh yeah, I know how to do this. I feel great here. I can check that box. You ask me a sales question, I can help you. A leadership question, I'm going to knock it out of the park. Sometimes, though, I'll be honest, you ask me a relationship question, sometimes I'm like, I don't know, man. Because sometimes I don't feel as competent there. And I think a lot of business people, can struggle with that. So I'm just excited to jump in with you, man. And let's just, where would you like to start in terms of kind of, navigating relationships and conflict and all these different things? Because, you know, especially as someone who's married, especially as someone who has kids, especially, there's stressors, there's things to do, there's all these sorts of things. Conflict is inevitable, but how do you navigate it? Because you seem like somebody who understands it better than anyone else that I know.
Well, I try. As I like to say, I'm the learner of the lessons in which I teach. Right. So I'm in consistently learning. Sure. Let's go with it. About conflict and relationships. What I will say is, I'll just kind of shoot it out of the barrel at the first, is the reason why there is conflict in any relationship. Here's a golden nugget right at the top, Andrew. You ready? The reason why there is any conflict in any relationship, whether it's personal relationship, you and your child, business, whatever, doesn't matter, is that two wounded masculine energies are both coming forward at the same time. That's it. Drop that mic, right? Well, maybe I will, right? So when we have, and what's super important to understand about polarity in general, masculine, feminine polarity, is that there is a masculine energy present, there is a feminine energy present within all of us. And to your point, everyone, every soul on the planet has both masculine and feminine energy present within them. Now, how you identify on what we call your core energy, is up to you. So for me, my core identified energy is masculine. And so I want to be more in my masculine, forward, dominant, leadership, decisive, with some other words, black and white, logical. I'm in my head more often than I'm in my body. Whereas feminine energy, which I tap into, my healthy feminine energy that I tap into, and always healing. By the way, we have wounds within masculine and feminine energetics. We'll get into that, I'm sure, down the road here in this conversation. But ultimately, conflict, I'll get back to that. Conflict is when two masculine energies come forward and we clash. Okay? Because masculine energy is giving, moving forward. Feminine energy is receptive. It's following. Okay? It doesn't mean, here is the biggest caveat. Okay? It doesn't mean that one is better than the other or more important than the other. And sometimes we get wrapped up into this idea that, oh, well, if masculine energy is the leader, then they're more important. Untrue. Absolutely untrue. And so we obviously get a lot of pushback in this somewhat newer understanding of masculine and feminine energy, thinking that because, by the way, one of the core energies of the masculine is dominance, not domineering. Important distinction. Dominance is the ability to make decisions. That's the masculine leadership. Well, if we have two of those wounded masculines coming forward, we're going to have conflict. And if we have two feminine energies forward, nothing gets done. Because both people are like, yeah, what do you want to do? I don't know. Where do you want to go to dinner? Where do you want to go to dinner? I don't know. What do you want to do? Right? This is why we have an age-old conflict when the wife is saying to the husband, for example, in a heterosexual relationship, so babe, where do you want to go to eat? And he says, I don't care, wherever you want to go. And she becomes increasingly frustrated because she just wants him to make a damned decision. So, and if both of them are trying to decide where to go, there we have conflict. Right? And I've often said this, there must be one healthy, masculine energy forward in every conversation, every relationship, and every business to ensure that something is moving forward. That's why I have this whole piece of content in which I say partnerships are a myth. There's no such thing as a partnership. Which is like, what? Wait a minute. Wait, I want a partnership in my marriage. I want a partnership in my business. Ultimately, though, if we follow the lines and the laws of polarity, there could only be one masculine dominant leadership moving forward to make decisions. And that's okay. So that's why we see, for example, why sometimes things don't get done in governments or organizations. And nobody ever makes a decision moving forward. We just kind of, well, I don't know. What do you want to do? Well, let's table it. Let's have a committee meeting. Who's in charge of this meeting? So what's super important to understand about conflict is that a healthy masculine energy moving forward has done the work, whether it's within masculine or feminine, woman, man, it doesn't matter, but that masculine forward energy is healthy and growing and confident and has healed past wounds and trauma in order to feel the confidence to step into a healing masculine energy to move forward.
Amazing. I mean, you probably gave me like 6 or 7 different concepts here that I think we can unpack. So I think it's awesome. So, one, masculine energy leader leading properly, right? Um, who's leading from a healthy place is what's necessary. And when two wounded masculine energies are coming forth, in my example, the husband and the wife, right, are coming forth, then there's a conflict. And then if there's two feminine energies, nothing gets done. So I think this is really interesting. You've given us this almost like a 2x2 matrix, is like I'm picturing in my head, right? It's like masculine, feminine, right? Healthy and wounded, we might call it. Right? What are characteristics of those 4 boxes? Like, can you unpack that matrix for me that I just imagined in my mind?
That you just created. Yeah, absolutely. When we're working with our clients, and by the way, we are Paige and my partner. I just said partnership, so well, she's my partner, for the lack of a better way to put it. Fiance, whatever you want to call her. But we work together. We are partners in business and life and love and relationships, and we are.
Congrats, by the way. It's exciting for you guys. Yeah.
Thank you. So, how we identify ourselves, what our niche is we are trauma informed polarity coaches, and we help individuals, men and women, in essence, provide them pathways in which to heal their trauma through a polarity lens, through a masculine and feminine polarity lens. So, and what we do with our clients is we help them identify different woundings, both within their masculine energy and their feminine energy. And some of those masculine wounds, for example, is overbearing, domineering, passive aggressive, rejection, et cetera, et cetera. And by the way, that can be found if we have a woman who is more in her masculine energy than she is in her feminine energy. Those wounded masculine energetics will come forward. And it'll feel like, well, wait. And she will be exhausted because she is more in her masculine and not in her core feminine energy. This is why so many boss babes are exhausted. And they have stepped into their masculine energy, perhaps because they've had to, okay, or perhaps by choice. And then they wonder, why am I so freaking exhausted? Well, because you are not in your core energy. You are more perhaps in your wounded masculine energy, or you're in your wounded feminine energy, which is neediness, right? Which is codependency, which is this idea of people pleasing. I could go on and on and on and on. We probably have heard this before, right? Now, it doesn't mean that a man can't be a people pleaser, but he's just swimming in that wounded feminine energy. There's the difference, okay? And by the way, we all have wounded feminine and wounded masculine energies that are connected to unmet needs of trauma from once upon a time.